Hello there. If you watched my video that went up on Sunday, yesterday, so you saw my plans and goals for 2025 and reflecting on 2024, today we're going to talk about books and like reading plans. And I'm sitting here in my library. I've got books on the shelves, but I've got stacks of books sitting next to me, and it makes me really happy because I have books that I want to read this year, and I'm going to talk you through why. So there's this thing going around on the internet, and I'm not doing that. It's called the Read Your Bookshelves Challenge. I'm doing my own thing, which is what I usually do. But I've decided, because I kind of tried something last year, I kind of tried like a no-buy for books. And I set myself a restriction, and I did it, I followed it pretty well. But basically I told myself you cannot buy a new book until you have read 5 books on the shelves that you have not read before. Like, of the ones that you own. So, I did that. I'm not counting Amazon pre-orders, because those to me are totally separate, because the Amazon pre-orders are, like, have the potential to save some money. Anyway, I meant, like, going to the bookstore, particularly the used bookstore, and buying a stack of books. Because I just like to kind of go, and I think of it as treasure hunting. I love buying books. I love having books. I love reading books. I love looking at books. Sitting surrounded by books makes me happy. However, I'm going back to school. I'm not going to have the same sort of financial freedom that I have enjoyed recently. School is going to be expensive. After that, you know, this can be a different story. So, what I'm trying to do is read the books on my bookshelves that I already own that I have not read. Because I know a lot of them, like some of these back here on this shelf in particular, I have read and reread and reread multiple times because I love them. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm not closing the door on like rereading favorites. I am giving myself a stipulation. Again, this year, I must read 5 books that I have never read before on my bookshelves in order to buy 1 new book, or reread 1 book that I have already read, that I already own. So, I've also done something kind of wacky and crazy, and I'm starting a library catalog. Because I needed something else to do, because I've been updating my movie list. Because we have like a Google sheet with all of our DVDs. Actually, it's like all of our movies that we own and TV shows, and I'm trying to like switch over to the format of the file to where we have a DVD checkbox, a Blu-ray checkbox, a 4K checkbox, and then if we own it on digital, like where we own it on digital. So, that got me thinking, hey, we've got a whole library of books upstairs. We ought to catalog those too. And books are complicated because there's like different versions, different editions of books. So I have a catalog of books. It's not all of them. I'm working on it. It's slow. It's taking some time. I'm okay with that. But what I want to do is have like a checkbox on the books, whether or not I've read them. Because like I remember if I've read them or not, you know, recently in the last 5 years. And to me that's fine. That counts. It's okay. So I'm going to try to read mostly in 2025 new books. So books that I have never read before. I also want to talk about Goodreads, like reading goals, because I'm going to talk about all of the series and the like standalone books that I want to read this year, because I've picked some out that I've like been looking at that I'm like, I think I'd like to read those this year. I want to talk about reading goals first though, because I used to set a reading goal on Goodreads, and I don't do that anymore. I kind of stopped doing that a few years ago, and I've noticed I read more when I don't have a set number of books that I have to read, because I already have enough pressure on myself in other ways for other things. I don't need to put pressure on myself for an enjoyable hobby that I like to do. I love to read. I love reading books. I don't need to set a reading goal like, oh, I'm going to read 50 books this year. Or else what? Like, why would I do that to myself? I mean, I just think the celebration and the joy should be, wow, that was a great book. I can't wait, to read the next one. Particularly with series, which we'll get to. But anyway, I don't set reading goals anymore. I just want to read books that I enjoy. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it. But if you're asking, like, what's your reading goal? I don't have one. My reading goal is to read books that I enjoy this year and to read books on my shelves that I've not read before, as opposed to rereading books that I've already read that I know that I love. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I do find something a little disturbing about all of the books on these shelves that I've never read, that Emma's never read, that Mom has never read. So they're just sitting here waiting for someone to pick them up saying, hey, what about me? So I'm gonna try to give these books a little bit of love. So I have a few series that I want to try to tackle this year. So I think I want to go through this list in kind of in the order I want to tackle them. I recently bought Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree, and the second book in the duology, which is, oh wait, I think Legends and Lattes might be the first one. Anyway, there's 2 books by Travis Baldree. I managed to get the hardcover. I think these are like special editions. They've got like the sprayed edges. I got these on Amazon, and I think I pre-ordered them. But I really would like to read these. I have seen them for a while, and people say really good things. Travis Baldree is the audiobook reader for the Cradle series, which is this series up here. And that's the like 14 book series that Anthony has me reading. And it's so good. I've read it a couple of times already, and then Anthony's got me going through the audiobooks on that one, so I'm not counting it. But with Travis Baldree, since he's the narrator or the reader of that book series, I want to read his books. Enough said. Okay, the next one. And this is a big one. I've got it at the very top of this bookshelf. I have, over the past couple of years, been collecting the old school hardcovers of the Wheel of Time series. And I'm almost there. I have one more to go. I thought I had it. I thought I had all of them. I'm missing book 13. This is a like 14 book series. Actually, I think it's 15 books because I think there's like the prequel. So this one, whoa. This is a huge series. I just saw the Canadian price. This book retailed for $56 in Canada. It's crazy. So the Wheel of Time series was written by Robert Jordan, but then toward the very end of the series, Robert Jordan sadly passed away, having not completed the series. So Brandon Sanderson completed the series for him, which I think is really cool because Brandon Sanderson is like this epic fantasy author in his own right, which is so cool that he finished the series. And I want to read this because Mom has been asking me to read it for a long time. I've never read it. I really want to read it. I gather there's dragons. There's a map inside the end papers. I am so excited to read these. But my preferred format is a hardcover book. I know that's like not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm excited. It's a huge undertaking. So I know that's going to be a big one, but I'm really excited about it. Next series is the Red Queen series, and you can't see it, but it's just right up here. I've read this book, The Red Queen, or I'm sorry, this book is called Red Queen. I've read book 2, which is called Glass Sword, and then I got to book 3, which is called King's Cage, and I got stuck. My friend Steph loves these books so much she has a tattoo, and I feel like I've got to read this series, and I feel like if I just get through King's Cage, I will be able to finish the series. So my goal this year is to finish that series, and I feel like I might just start over from the beginning. We'll see. I don't know. Next series is I think this is called the Three Dark Crowns series. I have almost all of these books. There's, I think, probably 4 books. There's this one, and then 2 others up here. I think I'm missing one, and then like the novel or the little paperback of the novellas. So if you count the novellas as their own book, that would be 5 books, but whatever. So I really want to read these because I'm just not sure if I'm going to keep them on the bookshelf. You know, I might take these to a used bookstore and try to sell them. Or, I'm sorry, change them in for store credit, which is totally fine. But I would like to read these this year because they've been on my shelf for a while. And I need to stop buying series without reading them. That's a toxic trait of mine. I will just buy series without having read the first one. I'll just buy the whole series. Because I have this thing, I guess I would call myself a completionist, where I have to buy the whole series, except with this one. I didn't have, the last book wasn't out yet, and I didn't know that when I bought them. Anyway, this next series is called The Remnant Chronicles, but the first book is called The Kiss of Deception. But right here on the cover, I love this cover for a couple of reasons. I don't care about the girl on it. I like that right here it says book 1. I like that. That's clear. It doesn't say anything on the spine, but on the front it says book 1. Then it has the title, and then it has the title of the series, The Remnant Chronicles. So I like that. That's nice. This is a 3-book series. I read the first chapter of this a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I picked something else up, and I never picked this back up. So I just I want to read that trilogy because I have the other 2 over here. And then I will have read almost everything on that shelf with one exception. And we'll talk about that in a second. We can talk about that one next. The Hunger Games. I would like to reread the whole Hunger Games trilogy so that I can read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have not read this. Adam Legg purchased this for me in 2020, 2021, whenever it came out. He bought this for me. There's even a sticker on the inside that says, put on hold, $5.19. That is so cool. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I haven't read it. So, I need to read this one. And I feel like if I do this, if I read this, because this is new, but the Hunger Games books over here I have read. So I have these. So this would be a reread. I'm going to forgive the reread on these because it's been so long since I've read the Hunger Games trilogy. And also by the time I read these, I will definitely have made up the reread for all 3 of those. That will, like, even just The Wheel of Time is 15 books. That's 3 rereads for books I already own. So I can do that. But this needs to happen this year. I'm not going to put that up there yet. So, no, not the last. I have 2 more series. This one is actually a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So I think this is from Mr. Darcy's point of view. But this trilogy is called A Novel of Fitzwilliam Darcy, Gentleman, and the first book is called An Assembly Such as This. There are 3 books in this series, and I own all 3 of them. I found books 1 and 3 at a used bookstore, and I bought them. And then a YouTuber that I was watching at the time, yeah, this one was $5. A YouTuber I was watching at the time read this series, loved it. And I had already bought the books, like books 1 and 3, so then I immediately bought book 2 with good intentions and never read them. So it needs to happen. I've got to read it. This one's short. I feel like book 2 and book 3 are a little bit longer, but they're right over there. I'm not going to grab them, but this needs to happen. And I'm in a mood right now for like Pride and Prejudice retellings. So this one may happen sooner than later. It might happen first. I don't know. And then the last series that I'm going to try to get to this year or, you know, maybe next year, because this is going to be a lot. And this is not even including the standalones, which I have over here. So the next series I have, it's kind of a series. I'm counting it as a series because Layla Meekum, if you have ever listened to me talk about books, you know that I love her books. She is sadly no longer with us, but she has written several books. She wrote Dragonfly, which is one of, like, it's in my top 5 books of all time. It's right up there with Pride and Prejudice. She wrote Titans, which is probably my number 2 book of all time. I've reread that one so many times. And then I just finished her, like, older romance books that she wrote, I think, in the 80s. But she wrote Roses and Somerset. And I feel like one of them is the prequel to the other one. And I don't remember which one is the prequel. So I'm counting this as a series. And if I read these 2, I will have read every book that she has written, with the exception of Tumbleweeds, which was a do not finish for me, just because the characters were awful people. So that one needs to happen at some point as well. However, not this year. I need to be in a different mental place for that. But those are all the series I want to read in 2025, or, you know, I want to try to get to them if I can. I know there's a bunch there, and we haven't even talked about standalones. So let's talk about standalones. Because I have some books that are just like one-offs that are not part of a series, thank goodness, that I want to try to get to if I can. And I feel like these are a little easier to get to, because a 15-book series is a huge commitment. One book is easy enough to commit to. So this one is called The Book of Lost Names. I did not finish this when I tried reading it the first time. For me, it was the characters that I didn't care for. I feel like I might be in a different place now, so I might be able to read this now. But I care for that friend enough, I'm going to give it another shot. So I'm definitely going to try to read that one and finish it this year. Because I loved the premise of it. I just need to get past the, I can't stand this person. So the next book is another book recommended by a friend. There's actually a sticky note from that friend on this cover. And it's called The Yiddish Policeman's Union by Michael, is it Chabon? Cabin? I don't know. But I think it's set in Sitka, Alaska, which is cool. And it's about Jewish refugees prospering in the federal district of Sitka in the wake of the Holocaust. Another friend read this, loved it, sent it to me. So I need to read that. Okay, next 2. I've not read all of Jane Austen's books. I still have yet to read Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. Shame on me. I'm gonna try to get to these this year. It needs to happen. I need to read these. I've heard really good things about both of them. I've heard really good things about the love interests in both of them. I don't know how anyone could compare to Mr. Darcy. I don't know how anyone could compare to Elizabeth Bennet as our hero, but yeah, anyway, I need to read those, so I'm excited. I have several, in addition to this Fitzwilliam Darcy gentleman book, you can't even see it, in addition to that series, I have a handful of other Pride and Prejudice retellings or sequels. Anyway, I have several other Pride and Prejudice retellings on the bookshelf that are just standalones, so I want to read a few of those. And typically I get in the mood for that around Valentine's Day, but you can't imagine why. But anyway, yeah, I've got a few of those. That's just one. This one's called Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife by Linda Birdall. So we'll see how this one goes. It looks long. Like, the print in here is fine, and the chapters are like condensed. So like the chapter doesn't even start on its own page. The chapter starts in the middle or the end of the page previous. So it's a long book. It is 465 pages. All right, 2 more. Madly Deeply by Alan Rickman. We are in the midst of rewatching Harry Potter right now, and we just finished movie 2, The Chamber of Secrets, last night, and so it's got me in the mood for Alan Rickman. I really would like to read this, so I'm excited to read his diaries. So there's that. I try to read some nonfiction every year, whether that's, you know, a memoir or otherwise, you know, a historical account of something, but I try to read some nonfiction every year. It's not what I naturally gravitate to, but I try to include it. And then the last one is one that I picked up because it was in like the bargain bin on Better World Books, and it's called When Women Were Dragons. I don't recall this being a history lesson, however, the cover is beautiful, and if women were dragons, I want to know everything. I need to know how it went. The print in here, or the font, is like kind of large, so this one should be fairly quick read. It doesn't seem to be a very long book, which I like, because sometimes they just drag on when they don't need to, you know? This one is 336 pages. Cool. So, there's a lot. I've got like a list. However, I'm not going to do like a physical TBR where I put them all on one shelf together. I kind of like the way my library is organized right now. But I do have a list of things I want to get to. I've got it in my notes on my computer. And I kind of also am a mood reader. So these are the things I'm telling myself, I want to try to get to these. However, if I get to a point where I'm like, I'm in the mood for a fairy tale retelling. I have a bunch of twisted tales, like the Disney twisted tales. I've collected almost all of them. It's wild. Thank you, used bookstores, for having those. However, I've not read them. And so I could just read the twisted tales this year, and that would also be fine. But some of this stuff, I'm like, I keep looking at that book on my bookshelf thinking, why haven't I read that yet? And I just need to get it done. And so telling myself I can still reread some old favorites, but I have to read a new one first. I like giving myself that stipulation, because otherwise I'm just going to keep reading The Lord of the Rings over and over and over again. And also Pride and Prejudice. Like, what's wrong with me? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm also not going to let myself buy a bunch of new books if I don't read the new books that I bring into my house. So, Auburn, read some of the books that you own. Figure out what you like and what you don't like, because if the Red Queen series really is one that I just can't get through, I'm going to get rid of it. And the Three Dark Crowns, if I like it enough, you know, to buy the fifth book, or the fifth book, the last book of the series, if I like it enough, I'll buy that book and read it and keep it on the shelf. If I don't, I mean, if I get to the fourth book and I'm like, I want to know how it ends, I will either borrow it from the library or buy it secondhand and keep it on the shelves, or I will get rid of the whole series, you know? But not like I'm trying to purge stuff. I'm not. I just want to know that I've read more of the stuff that we own than the new stuff. You know, I want to read more of the stuff that I bring into the house. And, you know, it's fine to reread the favorite stuff. It is. There's nothing wrong with that. But stop buying new books, Auburn, until you've read the stuff that you've brought into the house. That's my point. Anyway, I'm glad we had this talk. This was fun. I hope you had a good time. I read a book the other day, and it was one that I downloaded online. It doesn't matter, but we'll talk about that in a reading wrap-up. Maybe the end of January, maybe in February. But for now, that's going to be it. My camera's going to die. You guys will see me in another video really, really soon. Bye!